There's something weird going on in your brain. I was in the hospital in Montreal, hospital in Ottawa City, Royal Ottawa, which is a loony bin, but like everybody's escaped from twice. Booked a ride share at Zilberg. Happened as the person at the store called us off. Just the cops. Fuck you, cops, you bastards, pigs. My name is Jack Terrian. I study theater at the University of Ottawa. Basically, I do theater work, and I do artwork, and I do like miscellaneous projects. So I have this radio. I'm going to put hardware inside of it so that I can play audio, and then there's going to be a photoresistor peeking out of the top of this radio, so it'll be in this pitch black dark room inside the visual arts building where I do some of my stuff. And so when the door opens, it'll be playing this like shitty commercial country radio station, and then it'll kind of and cut to this play that I wrote and recorded. I'm working on this play that I wrote about being on the run from the hospital. The third time I ran away from the hospital, I hitchhiked to Sault Ste. Marie. I withdrew from the medication I was on the first night. There's a lot of like headaches and like heat. So sitting around a campfire, we'd be listening to the radio, and then I turn a dial or press a button, and then it distorts in the same way that I've experienced. So the audience is brought into the experience of hearing this weird stuff on the radio while sitting around a campfire hearing a story. And as to what I'll do with it next, I don't know. Maybe make it into a play. I've short-circuited it like 10 times in a row before.
What?
When I was trying to figure out how to get the this potentiometer working,
Yeah.
I'm like wiring it up. It's like basically you see all the lights go super you slide it, it's fine, and then they go super dim.
Yeah.
And I guess that's like how you can like make it burst into flames. But you know, it didn't happen, so that's nice. My transition from relatively neurotypical to relatively neuroatypical was brought on by lots of drugs and a little bit of trauma. Prior to that, I think I had a relatively normal functioning brain. I was on the West Coast, and I was being homeless or home free or whatever you want to call it out there. And then when I came back, there was this like sort of collective feeling that something was wrong, but it wasn't explicit for a long time what it was. And then my family, they tried to treat me the same, and then as I tried to avoid them by traveling around and being homeless and not in Ottawa, there was this feeling that something was wrong, but not really a grasp on what they could do about it. The first time I was hospitalized was in Montreal. I was planning to leave Montreal and hitchhike to the West Coast, and an older friend had me hospitalized because, if I understand correctly, there was this fear that I'd go hitchhiking and like freeze to death or get murdered or whatever else because I couldn't take care of myself, was their understanding of it. Basically, I made them very uncomfortable because my responses to things were super atypical. So, they could tell something was wrong, and that ended up with me in the hospital. So the second time I'd been hitchhiking around in New Brunswick, playing mandolin, and so I was hitchhiking back west from New Brunswick and down through Quebec, and then I ended up in Ottawa, where I'm from, and I was staying with my parents. And then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I woke up to the police coming into my room, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to the hospital." And that's kind of how police talk. So I put on my pants, and I went with them. And what I was told was that I didn't have the capacity to take care of myself, so I was a risk to myself. And what's more, I didn't have the capacity to recognize whether or not I had a mental illness, and so that's why they kept me there. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I can.
All right, so what I'm working on here is a techno twister mat. So the underside of this is a twister mat, as you can imagine. The end result will be, God willing, that when you press on one of these, it starts or stops a track, so that the people playing Twister end up playing this kind of musical instrument as they play Twister. So what I realized last night was that I need to wire in diodes in between all of these, because otherwise it doesn't know when you're pressing more than one of them at a time. So that's why I'm in kind of last minute panic mode, which is not an unusual thing. I mean, I really hope it'll take about an hour and 45 minutes, because if it doesn't, I'm fucked. Like, this is meant to be just like a way to, like a toy for my friends, basically. So it's not really, like, there's no high art behind this. It's just something that I thought would be cool. The doctors were very hesitant to tell me why I was in the hospital. So once I had the schizophrenia diagnosis, it was just like, oh, you can, you know, agree to be schizophrenic and take your meds, and eventually you'll get out.
I don't actually know what caused my eventual release from the hospital. I know my psychiatrist said to my parents, like, yep, like, we're gonna let him out, and we expect he'll be, like, out of the province in a week. Yeah, so they let me out, and then I stuck around.
Yeah, without, like, you know, friends and family, I wouldn't be here. I'd be off being a bum somewhere. I mean, you can have all this stuff that you like to do, but unless you're sharing it with people, there's not a lot of point in doing it. Like, when you see the sparkle in somebody's eye of like, oh, like, this has brought me joy, like, that really makes life worth living. And without people who you can do that with consistently, like, there's less value. You know, you need that support network. That's what keeps people going.
I mean, that's one of the great joys in my life, is being able to talk to people and understanding what people are actually trying to say, and having them understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, this is me. What's up?
If I should go insane and the person you know goes away, please won't you forgive me, my friends, if I just can't stay.